He's coming. Please just pretend you're our dad. The words barely disturb the steam rising from Kong Jun-hook's black coffee. The cafe smells of roasted beans and wet wool. Outside, rain needles the glass in restless streaks, turning the Seoul skyline into a smear of gray light. Two small bodies slide into the velvet booth beside him. They are soaked, cheap jackets darkened by rain, braids half undone. One of them trembles so hard the table rattles against the ceramic cup in his hand. Jun-hook doesn't look at them immediately. He feels them first. The heat of their fear, the way one grips the edge of the marble table like it's the only solid thing left in the world. The other clutches his sleeve, Italian wool bunching in her fist. "Daddy, there you are," the braver one says, voice high and strained. The word lands in his chest like a delayed gunshot. Jun-hook turns his head slowly. Two identical girls stare up at him with wide amber eyes. Amber, his eyes. And then the scent reaches him. Jasmine and burnt sugar. His fingers tighten around the coffee cup. 8 years collapse into a single violent heartbeat. The cafe door chimes. 3 men step inside. Slate gray coats, professional posture, hair cut short, shoes too clean for the weather. They don't look like street thugs. They look like cleaners. The kind of men Jun-hook used to hire when something needed to disappear without a ripple. They scan the room once. Then they see the twins. The lead man begins walking toward the booth, footsteps steady against tile. Wet wool and cheap cigarettes drift ahead of him. The twins press closer. "The man who hurt Mommy is outside," one whispers, breath warm against Jun-hook's sleeve. "He says he owns us." Owns. Jun-hook's jaw tightens, but his face remains carved from stillness. The hunters don't know the quiet man in the booth once ran the northern underworld. They don't know he is the kind of boss men like them answer to. They see a tailored suit, a Patek Philippe glinting beneath cafe lights, a businessman nursing coffee on a rainy afternoon. They see prey. The lead hunter stops at the edge of the booth. Zara, Zion. His voice is a low rasp. The girls flinch at their names. "You've had your fun. Let's not make this embarrassing." He doesn't look at Jun-hook yet. "Your father is disappointed. Come with us before this gentleman gets caught in something too expensive for him." Jun-hook lifts his cup, takes one measured sip. The steam curls past his eyes. "You're standing in my light," he says quietly. The hunter blinks, confused. "What?" Jun-hook sets the cup down. Ceramic meets marble with a soft, precise clink. The hunter leans forward, placing a gloved hand on the table. "This is a private family matter. Drink your coffee and walk away." Zion's grip tightens on Jun-hook's sleeve. He can feel her heartbeat through the fabric, fast, frantic, bird-like. Jun-hook moves, not fast, not loud. His left hand slides up and gently pulls the trembling girl against his chest. His palm covers her eyes, turning her face into the dark of his jacket. "Close your eyes," he murmurs. The hunter reaches for the other twin. He never touches her. Jun-hook's hand snaps out and clamps around the man's wrist. There is a sharp, wet crunch. The sound is small, intimate. The hunter's breath leaves him in a strangled gasp as his knees buckle. Jun-hook doesn't stand. He doesn't shout. He simply tightens his grip until the man's face drains of color. His right hand appears from beneath the table. Black, matte, cold. The muzzle of a Glock presses into the hunter's abdomen. "Don't," Jun-hook whispers. The 2 other men freeze near the door, hands hovering near their jackets. "If you make a sound that scares them," Jun-hook continues, voice smooth as polished stone, "I'll make sure the last thing you see is your own heart." Rain pounds harder against the windows. The cafe has gone silent. No cups, no whispers, only breath. The hunter finally looks at him. Really looks. Amber eyes. Still. Predatory. Not a businessman. Not prey. "Tell your friends," Jun-hook says softly, "to keep their hands where I can see them." The man swallows and chokes out a strained command. The others comply. "You've got the wrong script," the hunter forces out, sweat forming along his brow. "These girls belong to Derek Lawson." Jun-hook tilts his head slightly. "Belong?" he repeats. The word sounds foreign in his mouth. He leans closer until his lips are near the man's ear. "You're talking to my daughters. The hunter attempts a laugh. It dies halfway. Junhook squeezes once more, another faint crack of bone, and then releases him with a shove. "Go back to Derek," he says. "Tell him the children found their real father." The hunter stumbles backward into his partners. "Tell him," Junhook adds, voice dropping lower, "the dragon is awake." They don't argue. They don't threaten. They flee. The cafe bell chimes again as the door swings shut behind them, swallowed by rain. Silence lingers. Junhook lowers the gun beneath the table. He looks down. Zara is watching him now, eyes wide but steady, not crying, assessing. "Are you really our dad?" she asks quietly. Junhook studies her face. The curve of her jaw, the color of her eyes, the scent of jasmine still clinging faintly to damp hair. Outside, thunder rolls across the city. Inside, something ancient and buried shifts in his chest. "I stopped pretending," he says at last, voice rougher than before. "The moment you sat down." Rain continues to fall. And for the first time in 8 years, Kong Junhook feels something more dangerous than fear. He feels responsibility. The rain doesn't soften after the hunters leave. It hammers harder, as if the sky itself is trying to wash something away. Junhook keeps his posture still for a full 3 seconds after the cafe door closes. He counts the breaths of the room. 1, 2, 3. No sudden return. No backup waiting outside. Only the thin murmur of shaken patrons pretending not to stare. He slides the Glock back beneath his blazer, metal brushing against tailored fabric with a muted whisper. When he looks down, Zion is still gripping his sleeve, her knuckles pale. "It's okay," he says quietly. His voice no longer carries ice. It carries weight. Zara doesn't look convinced. She shifts closer, her small body angled slightly in front of her sister, protective by instinct. She has already learned to measure men by their silences. Junhook notices. He files it away. "Where is she?" he asks. "The alley," Zara answers. "She told us to run. She said find someone who looks like he can fight." A faint exhale escapes him. Not quite a laugh. She was always smart. He stands. The movement draws a ripple through the cafe. Chairs scrape softly. Someone coughs. A spoon clinks against porcelain. Junhook removes a folded stack of bills from his inner pocket and places it beside the coffee cup, enough to pay for the damage and buy silence. He extends one hand to each girl. "Stay close," he says. They slide out of the booth, damp shoes squeaking faintly on tile. He positions himself between them and the glass windows as they move. His shoulders block sightlines. His gaze scans reflections. Outside, the air hits colder than expected. The alley behind the cafe smells of wet cardboard and engine oil. Rainwater runs in narrow rivers along cracked pavement, collecting beneath overflowing trash bins. Junhook sees her immediately. Amara is slumped behind a stack of wooden crates, one hand pressed to her side. Blood seeps between her fingers, dark against soaked fabric. For a moment, the world narrows. The twins freeze beside him. "Mommy," Zion whispers. Junhook kneels. Up close, Amara looks fragile, like porcelain dropped but not yet shattered. Rain clings to her eyelashes. Her lips are pale. Her eyes flutter open. Recognition strikes instantly. Not confusion, not fear. Recognition. "Junhook." She breathes. The sound of his name in her voice lands deeper than the gun ever did. "I found them," he says, already sliding one arm beneath her back. Her gaze drifts to the twins. Relief washes through her features, faint but unmistakable. "I knew you would," she murmurs. "There's no time for questions." He lifts her carefully. She's lighter than he remembers. Too light. Blood stains his sleeve. He moves fast now, boots splashing through shallow puddles toward the mouth of the alley where a black armored sedan waits beneath a flickering street lamp. The rear doors unlock with a muted click. He settles the twins inside first. Zara climbs in without hesitation, immediately turning to steady her sister. "Keep pressure here," Junhook instructs, guiding Zion's small hand gently against Amara's side once he lays her across the back seat. "Firm, not hard." Zion nods, lips trembling but determined. Junhook slides into the driver's seat. The engine ignites with a low mechanical growl. In the rearview mirror, 3 pairs of amber eyes meet his. Not coincidence. Not imagination. Fact. He pulls into traffic, tires hissing over rain-slick asphalt. Streetlights smear into gold streaks across the windshield. Amara's breathing grows uneven. He won't stop, she whispers faintly from the back seat. Derek thinks they're his. He thinks I belong to him. The name settles in the car like poison. Jun Hook's hands tighten on the steering wheel until the leather creaks. Not anymore, he says. His voice is not loud. It doesn't need to be. The city blurs past neon reflections rippling in puddles, traffic signals flashing red through sheets of rain. The sedan moves with steady precision, cutting through lanes without hesitation. The twins stay silent. They watch him, not with fear, with something else. Expectation. The gates of his estate rise before the car even slows. Steel and reinforced glass slide open, revealing the underground entrance beneath a stretch of immaculate stone. The vehicle disappears into sterile light. The air inside smells of oil and cold concrete. Security doors seal behind them with heavy mechanical thuds. Jun Hook exits first. He opens the back door and lifts Amara into his arms. She winces but doesn't cry out. Guards appear from the periphery, silent, efficient. They take one look at his expression and step aside without question. Medical wing, he orders. No one hesitates. The twins follow close behind as he strides through polished corridors illuminated by recessed white light. Their wet footsteps leave faint marks on marble floors before attendants quickly blot them away. Inside the infirmary, doctors move with controlled urgency. Gloves snap on. Instruments clink against steel trays. A monitor hums to life. Jun Hook stands near the foot of the bed as they work. He doesn't interfere. He doesn't ask for reassurance. He watches the steady rhythm of the heart monitor instead. Beep, beep, beep. The twins sit on a leather sofa across the room, wrapped now in dry blankets. Zara's hand never leaves Zion's. Jun Hook's phone vibrates once in his pocket. A silent alert from perimeter surveillance. He checks the screen briefly. 3 black SUVs have stopped 2 streets away from the cafe. Too late. He locks the phone. His gaze returns to Amara. 8 years ago, she had vanished before sunrise. Tonight, she bleeds under his roof. The difference is simple. He isn't letting her disappear again. One of the doctors approaches with measured steps. She'll live, the man says quietly. The wound is serious but clean. No internal rupture. Jun Hook nods once. Across the room, Zion finally speaks. Are we safe now? The question hangs heavier than any threat. Jun Hook looks at the sealed doors, the armed guards, the reinforced walls. Then he looks at the twins. Yes, he answers, but his mind is already moving. Because safety is not a location. It's elimination. And Derek Lawson just made the mistake of stepping into his light. The infirmary smells of antiseptic and warmed plastic. Monitors cast a soft green pulse against white walls. The rain outside has softened into a steady hiss against reinforced glass, distant now, muted by layers of concrete and steel. Amara lies still beneath surgical light, skin pale against clean sheets. A fresh bandage wraps her side. An IV line drips with quiet rhythm. Jun Hook stands beside the bed long after the doctors step away. His suit jacket is gone. His shirt sleeves are rolled back, exposing forearms lined with old scars, thin white memories carved by knives, bullets, broken glass. He watches the rise and fall of her chest. 8 years compress into the space between each breath. A soft sound draws his attention. Fabric shifting. Zara and Zion stand at the doorway of the infirmary. Blankets draped around their shoulders like capes. Their hair is dry now, braided neatly by someone with careful hands. They do not run to the bed. They wait. Jun Hook walks toward them, heavy footsteps softened by polished floors. You should rest, he says. Zara studies him, searching for something beneath the calm surface. We've been resting for 7 years, she replies quietly. The words are not accusatory. They are factual. Jun Hook holds her gaze. What happened? He asks. Zion answers first, voice small but steady. He said Mommy embarrassed him, that she made him look weak, He said we were leverage. The word lands like metal. Leverage. Zara nods. He keeps houses. Different ones. We don't stay long. Mommy says it's safer that way. Jun-hook's jaw tightens. He kneels so he is eye level with them. For a man of his size, the movement feels deliberate, almost ceremonial. Did he hurt you? Both girls shake their heads. Not like Mommy, Zion whispers. Jun-hook absorbs that. A quiet rage settles. Not explosive. Not chaotic. Cold. Measured. From now on, he says, voice low but even, no one moves you without my permission. Zara tilts her head slightly. Even him? Especially him. A faint shift in her expression relief mixed with calculation. She believes him. Footsteps approach from behind. The senior doctor returns, tablet in hand. He hesitates before speaking, glancing briefly at the twins. She's awake, he says softly. Jun-hook rises immediately. Inside the room, Amara's eyes are open, tired, but aware. The IV monitor casts pale light across her face. She turns her head slightly as he approaches. You're still here, she murmurs. Where else would I be? A faint smile touches her lips before fading. He won't stop, she says. You don't understand how he thinks. Jun-hook doesn't interrupt. He doesn't see people, she continues. He sees possession, reputation, assets. If he loses something, he escalates until it's returned or destroyed. The heart monitor beeps steadily. Jun-hook leans closer, resting one hand on the edge of the bed. His knuckles brush the sheet, careful not to disturb her bandage. He already escalated, he replies. Her eyes sharpen slightly. What did you do? Enough. She studies him, searching the space behind his calm expression. You're not that man anymore, she says carefully. The room grows quieter. Jun-hook glances toward the doorway where the twins stand, half hidden but listening. I tried not to be, he answers. A memory flickers behind his eyes, crystal chandeliers, masked smiles, the taste of whiskey and jasmine. The Grand Hyatt ballroom had glowed gold that night. Derek Lawson had worn confidence like armor. Amara had worn uncertainty like a hidden bruise. Jun-hook had been upstairs, alone, staring at rain through glass. Then the door had opened. She had stumbled in, fevered, disoriented, whispering for help. He had expected an assassin. Instead, he found a woman drugged by the man who claimed to love her. He had carried her to safety that night. He hadn't known she would carry something else away with her. Back in the present, Amara watches his expression shift. He drugged me, she says quietly. I found out later, a synthetic sedative. He wanted me quiet before the cleaners arrived. Jun-hook's hand curls slightly against the mattress. He underestimated you, he says. And you. Silence stretches between them, not uncomfortable, just heavy with years neither of them had been allowed to speak about. I left before sunrise because I thought if he traced me back to you, she begins. He would have tried, Jun-hook finishes. She nods faintly. I couldn't risk it, not after what I'd already seen him do to people who crossed him. Jun-hook straightens slowly. You won't have to run anymore. Amara's eyes flicker toward the doorway again. You can't fix this with violence alone, she says. He lives in systems, in contracts, in networks. A faint hum echoes from the corridor, security systems cycling, surveillance feeds updating. Jun-hook's gaze hardens slightly. I don't fix problems with violence alone. He steps back toward the doorway. The twins part instinctively to let him pass. As he exits into the hall, his phone vibrates again. A secure message appears on the screen. A name. Derek Lawson. Location pinged at a glass penthouse overlooking the Han River. A secondary alert follows. 3 of the men from the cafe admitted to a private hospital under Lawson Holdings insurance. Jun-hook locks the screen. Behind him, the infirmary door slides shut with a quiet hiss. He walks down the corridor toward his private office, marble floors reflecting the dim overhead lighting. A man who had once ruled through fear had spent 7 years trying to live like a ghost. But ghosts don't have daughters. And Derek Lawson just stepped into a war he doesn't understand. Because this time, Jun-hook isn't protecting territory. He's protecting blood. Jun-hook's private office sits beneath the estate, sealed behind biometric glass and layered steel. The air inside is cool, filtered, carrying the faint scent of leather and machine oil. A single desk lamp casts a cone of amber light across dark walnut. He stands at the edge of the desk, phone in hand. The senior doctor enters without knocking. He has worked for Jun-Huk long enough to understand silence is permission. In his hand is a slim tablet. "I ran comparative markers," the doctor says quietly, "against your medical file." Jun-Huk doesn't reach for it immediately. The hum of servers behind the wall is steady, constant, controlled. The doctor sets the tablet down on the desk and steps back. On the screen, 2 digital DNA strands rotate slowly in sterile blue light. They overlap, align, merge with mathematical precision. A percentage flashes beneath the image. 500 The number doesn't flicker. It holds. Jun-Huk stares at it until the strands blur into abstract lines. This is not instinct, not resemblance, not coincidence. This is fact. He lifts the tablet with scarred fingers, the glass surface reflecting faint amber from his eyes. "They're yours," the doctor says, softer now. "Both." Jun-Huk nods once. No smile, no visible reaction. But something shifts behind the stillness, something heavier than rage, sharper than relief. "Keep this internal," he says. "No digital cloud storage, physical copy only." "Yes, boss." "And purge any external request logs." The doctor inclines his head and exits. The door seals shut with a soft hydraulic whisper. Jun-Huk remains standing. He places the tablet down slowly, then reaches for a folder already waiting at the edge of the desk: property records, shell corporations, offshore trusts. He flips through them with steady precision. Pages whisper against each other. He stops at one document. Resignation from 3 remaining corporate boards tied to his old network. He signs without hesitation. Ink scratches across paper. A small sound. Irreversible. His phone vibrates. A live security feed request from the upper wing. He accepts. The screen shifts to the lounge where the twins sit on a wide leather sofa beneath recessed lighting. Zara is braiding Zion's hair again, fingers careful and practiced. A tray of untouched food rests on the coffee table. They aren't speaking. They are watching the hallway, waiting. Jun-Huk lowers the phone slowly. He walks upstairs. The corridor lighting grows warmer as he approaches the residential wing. The marble shifts to hardwood beneath his shoes. The air smells faintly of lavender from diffusers placed discreetly along the walls. He pauses at the doorway before entering. Zara looks up first. Her eyes track him, studying posture, hands, expression. Zion's face brightens slightly, but she remains seated. Jun-Huk steps into the room. "I need to show you something," he says. They exchange a quick glance. He sits opposite them and places the tablet on the coffee table. The DNA strands rotate again in soft blue light. "I had a test done," he explains, voice calm and direct, "to confirm something." Zara leans forward. Zion edges closer. "What does it say?" Zion asks. Jun-Huk doesn't soften the words. "It says I'm your father." Silence settles in the room. No dramatic gasp. No tears. Zara stares at the number. 99.9%, she reads quietly. She looks up at him. "You already knew." "It isn't a question." Jun-Huk meets her gaze. "I felt it," he says, "but feelings aren't enough." Zion reaches out and touches the screen, as if the glowing strands might be warm. "So you're not pretending anymore?" He holds her eyes. "I stopped pretending the moment you called me Dad." The air in the room shifts lighter, but charged. Zara's shoulders drop a fraction. Zion slides off the sofa and walks around the table. She stands in front of him for a moment, measuring. Then she steps into him and wraps her arms around his waist. It's hesitant at first. Testing. Jun-Huk freezes for half a heartbeat. His hands hover awkwardly in the air before lowering carefully onto her back. She is small, fragile, real. Zara watches, then stands and joins them, her embrace more controlled but equally certain. Jun-Huk closes his eyes briefly, not in weakness, in recalibration. He is a man who once calculated territory, leverage, silence. Now he calculates pulse and breath and the weight of 2 small bodies leaning against him. After a moment, Zara pulls back. What happens now? She asks. Yoon Hook stands. What happens now, he says evenly, is that no one decides your future without me. He walks to the window overlooking the estate grounds. Floodlights illuminate trimmed hedges and armored gates. Security teams move along the perimeter with quiet discipline. He knows Derek won't come directly. Not again. Men like Derek escalate through systems, first media, courts, influence, contracts. Jun Hook returns to the desk console built into the wall and activates a secure channel. His most trusted lieutenant appears on screen. I'm dissolving the last shadow holdings, Jun Hook says. Move assets into legal frameworks only. Audit everything tied to Lawson Holdings. The lieutenant nods. And the private network? Stand down offensive operations. A pause. Completely? Jun Hook's gaze hardens slightly. Not completely. He turns back toward the twins. He isn't guarding territory anymore. He's guarding two names that are his. Prepare defensive protocols, he continues. No visible escalation. Quiet containment. The screen goes dark. Behind him, Zion's voice breaks the silence. Are you scared? Jun Hook considers the question. He has faced men with knives at his throat. He has walked into rooms knowing he might not walk out. Fear is familiar. But this is different. Yes, he answers. Zara studies him carefully. Of him? Jun Hook shakes his head slowly. Of losing you. The honesty lands heavier than any threat. Outside, the perimeter lights hum steadily. Inside, the dragon learns what it means to have something worth protecting. High above the Han River, Derek Lawson's office is made of glass and ego. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city like a private possession. Rainwater streaks down the panels, distorting the skyline into fractured light. Inside, the air smells faintly of cologne and polished wood. Derek stands barefoot on imported marble, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled to his elbows. A crystal tumbler rests untouched on his desk. On the wall-sized monitor behind him, a paused video frame glows. A café interior. A black-suited man gripping one of his cleaners by the wrist. The image is grainy, taken from a button camera embedded in a coat lapel, but the violence is unmistakable. Derek zooms in. The frame pixelates, then sharpens. Amber eyes. Still. Unblinking. His jaw tightens. Who is he? Derek asks without turning. Behind him, his chief of security clears his throat. Sweat beads along his temple despite the controlled temperature of the room. A name surfaced, sir. A slim dossier slides across the desk. The paper makes a dry whisper against wood. Derek opens it. The first page carries a single word in red ink. Dragon. Stamped in bold. Dated today. His fingers pause over the ink. He operates legally now, the security chief continues carefully. Real estate, logistics, private equity. But before that, I can read Derek snaps. He flips pages. Images, business registrations, acquisition records, silent mergers. And beneath the clean surface, faint outlines of older headlines, long-buried territorial conflicts, unexplained disappearances, consolidation of northern districts. Derek exhales slowly. So I sent 3 cleaners, he mutters, almost amused, to retrieve what belongs to me, from a myth. Sir, the chief says carefully, he's not a myth. Derek's gaze sharpens. Everything is a myth if you pull the right thread. He tosses the dossier aside and turns back to the window. Below, traffic moves like obedient circuitry. They're children, Derek says. They don't understand leverage. They don't understand structure. His reflection stares back at him in the glass composed, immaculate, righteous in his own mind. He thinks blood gives him authority, Derek continues. Blood is biology. Ownership is law. The security chief shifts uneasily. Sir, our men from the cafe are in surgery. One may lose full function in his right hand. Derek smiles faintly. Collateral. He walks back to the desk and taps the monitor. The video resumes. Jun Hook's hand crushes bone in clinical silence. Derek watches the frame freeze again at the moment of eye contact. Amber. Unapologetic. A flicker of something unfamiliar edges into Derek's chest. Not fear. Recognition. He claimed them, Derek says quietly. Yes, sir. Derek turns slowly. Then he escalates. The room falls still. You want retaliation? The chief asks. No. Derek's smile widens slightly. I want correction. He moves toward a secondary console, built into the wall. Screens flicker to life. Financial dashboards, offshore accounts, shell entities moving capital in invisible loops. He taps a command. A new window opens. Vanguard Group. Encrypted. Private. He hesitates only a fraction of a second before initiating the call. The line connects with a soft, digital chime. A distorted voice answers. Derek doesn't bother with pleasantries. I want a containment operation. Define containment. Neutralize the threat without public exposure. Full discretion. No witnesses. There is a pause. Target? Derek's eyes return to the frozen image on the monitor. Kong Jun Hook. Another pause. That name carries implications. I'm aware. And the collateral? Derek's expression hardens. The woman and the children are assets. They are to be retrieved. And if retrieval fails? Derek's jaw flexes. Scorched earth. Silence lingers on the line. Then, understood. The connection drops. The office feels colder. The security chief steps forward cautiously. Sir, Vanguard operates internationally. If this escalates publicly, it won't. Derek cuts in. He picks up the dossier again, flipping back to the red stamp. Dragon. He presses his thumb against the ink as if testing its texture. He hides behind legacy, Derek murmurs. Behind reputation. He looks back at the skyline. Reputation burns beautifully. Behind him, screens begin populating with movement reports, satellite overlays, estate blueprints acquired through legal filings, drone mapping of terrain. The Vanguard Group moves fast. Derek watches the data compile with quiet satisfaction. You see, he says to no one in particular, men like him believe strength is physical. They think territory is protection. He lifts his tumbler at last and takes a slow sip. They forget the modern battlefield isn't streets. It's networks. On one screen, a digital map highlights Junhook's estate perimeter in faint blue. On another, surveillance blind spots blink red. Derek leans forward slightly, hands resting on the desk. He protected them today, he says softly. Let's see how well he protects them tonight. The rain outside intensifies again, streaking the glass in sharper lines. Far below, sirens wail faintly in the distance, unrelated, distant, ordinary. Derek doesn't hear them. He only sees the image of amber eyes staring back at him. You want to play, father? He whispers toward the screen. His smile fades into something thinner. Then let's test how much you're willing to lose. Across the river, beyond the glow of the city, estate floodlights hum quietly against the dark. Two men who once moved in different shadows now move toward the same collision. And only one of them understands what it means to fight for blood. The estate sleeps in disciplined silence. Perimeter lights cast clean white arcs across trimmed hedges and stone pathways. Surveillance cameras pivot in slow, mechanical sweeps. Somewhere beneath the structure, servers hum like a restrained heartbeat. Inside the master wing, the air is warm and still. Junhook stands by the window, watching rain slide down reinforced glass. Reflections fracture his outline into darker shapes. He feels it before he hears it. A shift. Subtle. A flicker in the lights outside, one blink too sharp to be weather. Then the perimeter grid goes dark. Not a gradual fade. A surgical cut. Blue-white flashes strobe briefly beyond the glass-suppressed muzzle discharge. Silent. Professional. Junhook doesn't curse. He turns. Amara, he says, voice low but edged with command. Under the bed, now. She doesn't hesitate. Pale but steady, she slides from the chair and disappears into the reinforced alcove built beneath the frame, steel-lined, invisible unless you know where to look. Junhook moves toward the wardrobe wall. A concealed panel opens with a soft magnetic release. Inside rests a matte black rifle. He checks the chamber in one smooth motion. Loaded. Across the room, Zara and Zion stand frozen near the corner. They aren't screaming. They're watching him. Come here, he says. They move instantly. He kneels, bringing himself to their level for half a breath. Safe room, he tells them. You know how. Zara nods once. He crosses the room, pressing his palm against a floor-to-ceiling mirror. The glass slides aside silently, revealing a narrow chamber lined in steel. He lifts Zion first, placing her inside. Then Zara, close your eyes and count, he says quietly. Neither girl closes her eyes. They stare at him. He doesn't argue. The mirror seals shut just as the bedroom door erupts inward. The blast wave shudders through the room. Splintered wood scatters across polished floors. Smoke spills in low and thick. 3 figures surge through the haze, black tactical gear, suppressed rifles raised. Laser dots dance across the walls. Jun-hook moves before they stabilize. He doesn't take cover. He advances. The first mercenary swings left. Jun-hook catches the rifle barrel mid-swing, twisting sharply. The suppressed shot discharges into the ceiling. He drives his palm into the man's throat. A dull, choking thud. The body collapses. The second mercenary fires twice. Bullets thud into reinforced paneling where Jun-hook stood half a second earlier. He closes distance in 3 strides. A knee to the abdomen. A twist of wrist. The rifle clatters across marble. Jun-hook's knife appears from nowhere, steel flashing once before, disappearing beneath body armor at the seam. The third mercenary shifts position, backing toward the window. Jun-hook grabs a heavy crystal decanter from the sideboard and hurls it. Glass explodes against the helmet visor. The man staggers. Jun-hook covers the distance and slams him into the shattered remains of the doorframe. Suppressed gunfire cracks once more, then stops. The room fills with smoke and the metallic scent of cordite. Silence returns in pieces. Jun-hook stands in the center of the wreckage, rifle steady, breath controlled. He scans corners, ceiling, shadows. No secondary team inside. His phone vibrates in his pocket. He doesn't check it yet. Instead, he lowers the rifle slowly and walks to the mirror. He presses the release. The panel slides open. Zara and Zion stand exactly where he left them. They didn't close their eyes. They saw everything. Jun-hook sets the rifle aside and crouches. "You're safe," he says. Zion steps forward first this time. Her small hand wraps around his blood-streaked fingers without hesitation. "Are they gone?" she asks. "Yes." Behind him, footsteps echo in the hallway, his own security team moving through the corridor with precise urgency. Bodies are dragged away without commentary. Shell casings collected, surfaces wiped clean. Efficient. Controlled. Zara looks past him at the damage. "You didn't look scared," she says. Jun-hook studies her face. "I was," he answers. She frowns slightly. "You didn't show it." "Fear is useful," he says quietly. "Panic is not." Down the corridor, a distant alarm tone finally activates a delayed perimeter breach notification, catching up to reality. Too late. Jun-hook stands. "Come," he says. He escorts them into a secondary wing untouched by the assault. Doors seal behind them with reinforced locks. His lieutenant approaches in the hall, face tight but steady. 3 confirmed inside. 2 external scouts neutralized at the north hedge. We've intercepted retreat vehicles. "Any identifiers?" Jun-hook asks. "International signatures. Vanguard." Jun-hook nods once. "Expected." "Secure the rest of the grounds." Quietly. "Yes, boss." As the lieutenant moves off, Jun-hook's phone vibrates again. This time he checks it. A secure message. Unknown number. 1 sentence. "You can't guard every door." Jun-hook deletes it without responding. He steps into the infirmary. Amara is sitting upright now, pale but awake. She heard the muted chaos through reinforced walls. "It started," she says softly. "It ended," he replies. She studies the faint blood streak along his cheek. "He won't stop," she says again. Jun-hook moves closer. "No," he agrees. He doesn't pretend otherwise. Across the estate, emergency lights flicker briefly before stabilizing. Outside, rain continues falling, indifferent to men and their wars. Jun-hook steps back into the hallway and looks down its length. The house smells faintly of smoke and broken wood. The twins are safe, for now. He pulls out his phone once more and opens a secure channel. "Prepare phase 2, he says calmly. There's no hesitation on the other end. The transition from prey to predator is never loud. It is deliberate. And tonight, the dragon has decided to hunt. The estate smells faintly of ozone and disinfectant by morning. Broken wood has been cleared, glass replaced, bullet scars patched so precisely they look intentional. Only the air feels different, tighter, charged, like a held breath that hasn't been released. June Hook stands in the corridor outside the infirmary, jacket off, sleeves rolled. A thin cut marks his knuckles where bone met armor. It is already dried. Inside, the machines hum steadily. Amara sits upright against white pillows, pale but composed. A fresh bandage curves beneath her collarbone, where the edge of the earlier wound was stabilized again under stress. She watches him enter without surprise. "You didn't sleep," she says. "I don't need it." That's not true. He doesn't argue. He moves to the window, pulling the blinds halfway open. Morning light slips in gray and diffused. "They escalated," she says quietly. "Yes, and you will too." He turns to face her. "I won't respond emotionally." A faint smile touches her lips. "You never did." Silence stretches, filled only by the steady pulse of the heart monitor. "He believes control equals safety," Amara continues. "If he can't own something, he destroys it." June Hook's gaze shifts briefly toward the hallway, where faint laughter echoes Zion's voice, light and uncertain, followed by Zara's quieter response. "He doesn't understand," June Hook says softly. "Understand what?" "That I'm not guarding property." He steps closer to the bed. "I'm guarding blood." The words hang between them simple, unembellished. Amara studies his face, searching for hesitation. She finds none. "You can't fight him only with weapons," she says. "He built his power on contracts, shell companies, influence." June Hook nods once. "I know." He reaches into his pocket and removes a slim data drive, matte black, unmarked. "He hides behind systems," June Hook continues. "So I'll remove the systems." Amara's brow furrows slightly. "How?" "By making him visible." He steps away from the bed and activates the wall console. A projection flickers to life interconnected nodes of corporations, subsidiaries, holding groups branching outward like veins. At the center, Derek Lawson's primary company glows faintly. "I've been mapping his structure since last night," June Hook says. "Every offshore account, every partner entity, every liability he buried." Amara exhales slowly. "You're not just retaliating." "No." He zooms the projection inward. Dates appear. Transaction logs, insurance records, private hospital payments tied to injured operatives. "He touched my house," June Hook says evenly. "That removes his protection." A knock sounds at the door. Zara steps in carefully, Zion half hidden behind her. "Mommy?" Zion asks. Amara smiles faintly. "I'm here." The girls enter. June Hook steps back, giving them space. He watches as they approach the bed, careful not to disturb medical equipment. Zara glances toward the projection still glowing on the wall. "Is that him?" she asks. June Hook follows her gaze. "Yes." Zion tilts her head. "Are you going to hurt him?" The room grows very quiet. June Hook kneels again, bringing himself level with them. "I'm going to stop him," he says. Zara studies him carefully. "Stopping and hurting aren't the same." He nods slightly. "Correct." She accepts that. Zion shifts closer to him. "You won't leave, right?" June Hook's hand rests gently against her shoulder. "I'm not disappearing again." Amara watches the exchange silently. There is no theatrics in the promise. No raised voice. No dramatic vow. Just certainty. After a moment, the twins step back toward the doorway, leaving June Hook and Amara alone again. She exhales slowly. "You're building something," she says. "Yes. Not just a defense. No." He turns off the projection. The wall returns to neutral gray. "I'm giving him something he understands," June Hook says. "Exposure." Outside, security vehicles reposition quietly beyond the gates. Surveillance drones adjust altitude. Communication lines hum in encrypted channels. "He thinks fear is leverage," June Hook continues. "He believes people obey because they're cornered." Amara studies him. "And you?" "I believe people collapse when they're seen clearly." A faint vibration hums through the console. An incoming confirmation. June Hook checks the screen. Asset relocation complete. Shadow holdings dissolved. Documentation archived in physical vault. He nods once. Phase 2 begins tonight, he says. Amara closes her eyes briefly. This will not end quietly. No, he agrees. He walks back toward the window, watching clouds shift above the city. He once ruled from shadows because it was efficient, because it required less vulnerability. But shadows don't raise children. He looks down at his hands, scarred, steady. For the first time, the weight of them feels different. Not tools of dominance, anchors. He turns back toward Amara. I have spent my life taking things, he says quietly. Territory, power, silence. She holds his gaze. I'm done taking. He pauses. I'm protecting. The distinction matters. In the hallway, Zion laughs again, brighter this time. Jun-Huk steps toward the door. Whatever he tries next, he says without looking back, he won't control the ending. Amara watches him leave, understanding fully what that means. In another part of the city, systems shift invisibly, files queued, accounts flagged, digital threads tightening around a man who believes himself untouchable. Jun-Huk does not raise his voice. He does not make threats. He simply prepares. Because this time, he is not fighting for reputation. He is fighting for two names that carry his blood. And that changes everything. Fog rolls low across the hills of Incheon, swallowing the glass and steel villa in a pale, shifting haze. From a distance, it looks defenseless. Walls transparent, lights dimmed, gates unlocked. It looks like a man trying to hide his family. Derek Lawson steps out of his armored SUV at exactly 11:58 p.m. His polished shoes crunch softly against gravel damp with mist. Behind him, the remaining Vanguard operatives move with quiet precision, weapons concealed but ready. He studies the structure. Minimal security. No visible perimeter guards. A faint smile touches his lips. Desperation, he murmurs. He gestures forward. The front doors open with barely a push. Unlocked. The interior smells faintly of polished stone and cold air. Blue moonlight filters through wide windows, casting pale lines across marble floors. Derek steps inside first. His reflection stretches long and distorted across the glass walls. Clear it, he orders quietly. The mercenaries split, sweeping through the ground floor. Footsteps echo through empty corridors. Doors open, closets searched. Kitchen clear, lower level clear. Bedrooms clear. Their voices crackle through earpieces, confused. Derek's smile fades slightly. He walks toward the center of the vast living room. Where is he? He mutters. A sudden metallic thunder slams through the villa. Steel shutters drop from hidden recesses, sealing every window in synchronized impact. The sound reverberates through bone and glass alike. Derek spins. Lights ignite overhead, harsh, clinical white. The atmosphere shifts instantly from moonlit illusion to interrogation chamber. A single monitor embedded in the far wall flickers to life. Jun-Huk appears on screen, seated, calm, amber eyes steady beneath controlled lighting. Derek's jaw tightens. You always liked watching people through screens, Jun-Huk says, voice smooth and measured through concealed speakers. Being the unseen observer. Derek glances around. Where are you? He demands. Safe. Behind Derek, one of the mercenaries tries the front door. It doesn't move. A digital lock flashes red. On the monitor, new windows begin opening rapidly. Transaction logs, bank accounts, corporate shell diagrams. A timestamp glows in the corner. 0 hours and 7 seconds live upload initiated. Derek's eyes narrow. What is this? You built your empire on invisibility, Jun-Huk replies. Let's correct that. The screen splits into multiple feeds. Offshore transfer flagged. Insurance payment, private hospital, chemical purchase, synthetic sedative. Each line carries a date, a digital receipt, a verification hash in the lower right corner. 0 hours and 14 seconds receipt confirmed. Derek's pulse begins to climb. You think this means anything? He scoffs. Another screen flashes. Funds flagged. $4 million. 400万美元, 620万美元, Bye-bye, Joshua Mayuan. The numbers climb like a countdown in reverse. What did you do? Derek snaps. Jun Hook doesn't blink. I pressed send. A new panel appears, international media servers receiving encrypted packets in real time. Law enforcement submission portals lighting up one after another. Evidence hash verified. Chain of custody time-stamped. Derek lunges toward the wall console, trying to override the system. The interface denies him. Access restricted. Behind him, one of the mercenaries lowers his weapon slightly. Sir, the man says quietly, authorities are triangulating this location. As if summoned, distant sirens begin to wail faintly through the hills. Derek's eyes flick back to the screen. You set me up, he breathes. You walked in, Jun Hook corrects. Another window opens. Surveillance footage. Not from the villa. From years prior. A ballroom, a champagne flute exchanged, a blurred moment at the bar. Metadata overlays the footage. Timestamp verified. Derek's face drains of color. You kept records, he whispers. You made mistakes, Jun Hook replies evenly. The numbers on the financial screen freeze. Account access suspended. Liquidity locked. Behind Derek, one of the mercenaries steps back entirely now. This is beyond contract, the man mutters. You're being paid, Derek snaps. By frozen accounts? The mercenary replies. Tension fractures the room. Jun Hook leans slightly closer to the camera. You sent men into my house, he says quietly. You tried to turn children into leverage. His voice does not rise. It sharpens. You used chemicals to erase a woman's will. The sirens grow louder, closer. Derek's reflection trembles in the sealed glass. You think you're better than me? He shouts. No, Jun Hook answers. I think I'm finished pretending you don't exist. A final screen flashes. Warrant, request, packets, submitted receipt, confirmed. 0 hours and 59 seconds authorities notified. Derek stumbles backward slightly. You can't do this, he says. I already did. Red and blue lights begin flickering faintly against the sealed shutters. Outside, vehicles skid to controlled stops. The mercenaries exchange glances. Their leader lowers his weapon entirely. This contract is terminated, he says flatly. Derek turns on him. You're nothing without me. The mercenary's expression remains unreadable. Tonight, he says, so are you. He steps away. Jun Hook watches silently from the screen. The dragon doesn't need to be in the room. The collapse is already underway. Derek looks back at the monitor one last time. Rage twists his features, but beneath it, fear. You think this ends it? He demands. Jun Hook's gaze remains steady. No, he says quietly. This ends you. He reaches forward and closes the laptop in front of him. The villa monitor goes dark. Inside the sealed house, sirens swell louder as authorities surround the perimeter. Derek stands alone in blinding white light. For the first time in his life, there is nowhere left to hide. The sirens fade into the distance hours later. News alerts begin as whispers, small financial irregularities flagged. A sudden freeze on a prominent executive's accounts. By dawn, the whispers sharpen into headlines. Jun Hook watches none of it. He stands in his study, lights low, laptop closed on the desk before him. The servers behind the walls continue their quiet hum, indifferent to the collapse they've helped trigger. His phone vibrates once, then again. Secure confirmations scroll across the screen. Primary holdings suspended. Executive immunity revoked. Travel restrictions active. He locks the device. Across the hall, soft footsteps approach. Zara appears first in the doorway, posture composed. Zion lingers behind her, clutching the edge of a sweater sleeve. Is it over? Zion asks. Jun Hook studies their faces. Not completely, he says. But he won't touch you again. Zara watches him carefully, as if measuring the weight of that promise. You didn't kill him, she says. It isn't disappointment. It's curiosity. Jun Hook shakes his head once. No. Zion tilts her head. Why not? He considers the answer before speaking. Because ending someone is easy, he says quietly. Erasing what made them powerful is harder. Behind him, a muted notification tone sounds from the desk. Another alert. Live press conference, Financial Crimes Unit. He doesn't turn. Zara steps farther into the room. What happens to him now? She asks. He answers questions. Jun-hook replies. Like we had to? Zion says softly. Yes. The twins exchange a glance, small, shared understanding. Jun-hook moves toward them, lowering himself slightly so his presence doesn't tower. He built control through fear, he continues. When fear disappears, so does control. Zara nods slowly. And now? Now, he says. We build something different. Footsteps echo behind him again. Amara stands at the far end of the hallway, steadier now, one hand resting lightly against the wall for balance. Her eyes meet his. It isn't triumph he sees there. It's release. He walks toward her. You saw? She asks. Enough. She exhales slowly. I thought he would fight louder. He did, Jun-hook replies. Just not where it mattered. Behind them, a television flickers to life in the adjacent lounge. A news anchor's voice filters through. Multiple financial violations uncovered overnight. Evidence submitted through verified channels. Pending arrest warrants. The twins drift toward the sound, drawn by curiosity more than concern. On screen, a blurred image of Derek Lawson flashes briefly, escorted through a building lobby, face pale, expression fractured. Zion studies the image. He looks smaller, she murmurs. Jun-hook doesn't answer. Because power without illusion always does. His lieutenant enters quietly from the side corridor. All internal traces cleared, the man reports. No linkage to this estate. Jun-hook nods once. And the external? Authorities confirmed independent acquisition of evidence. Chain of custody validated. Jun-hook's gaze remains steady. Good. The lieutenant hesitates. And the villa? Release it. The man inclines his head and leaves. Jun-hook turns back toward the television just as the anchor's voice sharpens. Effective immediately. Derek Lawson has been removed from all executive positions pending investigation. The image freezes momentarily on Derek's face. Confused. Angry. Human. Zara steps closer to Jun-hook. Will he hate us? She asks quietly. Jun-hook rests a hand lightly on her shoulder. Yes, he says honestly. Zion looks up at him. Are you scared? He pauses. Fear flickers briefly through memory alarms. Smoke, shattered wood. Then it fades. Not of him, he answers. Amara approaches fully now, standing beside him. He won't recover from this, she says. Jun-hook watches the television as reporters shout questions into the chaos. He might try, he replies, but he won't recover. The screen shifts again, market graphs plunging in red lines, shareholders withdrawing, board members issuing statements of separation. Systematic. Total. Not loud. Not theatrical. Just complete. Jun-hook reaches for the remote and powers the television off. The room returns to quiet. He looks at his daughters. For years, he measured success by territory expanded, rivals silenced, numbers climbed. Tonight, the measurement is different. 3 heartbeats steady in the same house. No alarms. No shadows. He walks toward the window and pulls the curtains aside. The morning sky is pale, almost colorless. In the distance, the city continues as if nothing monumental has shifted. Traffic flows. Lights blink. Life moves forward. Behind him, Zion laughs softly at something, Zara whispers. The sound is unguarded. Jun-hook closes his eyes briefly. The hunt is finished. Not because his enemy is gone, but because the illusion of his power is. He turns back toward the room. Breakfast, he says simply. The word feels unfamiliar in his mouth. Ordinary. Safe. Zara smiles faintly. Zion slips her hand into his. Amara watches him for a moment longer before following. In another part of the city, a man who once believed himself untouchable sits in a room without glass walls. And for the first time in years, Jun-hook does not feel the need to look over his shoulder. 6 months later, the air inside Seoul Family Court carries the faint scent of old paper and polished wood. The hallway is quiet, footsteps softened by waxed floors. Sunlight filters through tall windows, warming the edges of framed legal notices lining the walls. Jun-hook sits on a wooden bench outside courtroom 3. No tactical gear, no concealed weapons visible, just a navy suit tailored cleanly across broad shoulders. His hands rest flat against his knees, scarred knuckles pale against dark fabric. Beside him, Amara looks steady, stronger now, color restored to her cheeks. A thin silver line marks where skin once split, barely visible beneath soft lighting. Between them, Zara and Zion swing their legs slightly above the floor. Matching floral dresses, braids precise and symmetrical. They are not whispering in fear. They are waiting. The courtroom doors open with a muted creak. "Mr. Kong?" A clerk calls. Yun-hook rises. The girls stand immediately, one on each side of him. Their small hands slide into his without hesitation. Inside, the courtroom is modest but dignified. High ceiling. Polished oak bench. The judge sits already reviewing a thick folder. She adjusts her glasses and looks up as they approach. Jun-hook inclines his head respectfully. "Mr. Kong," the judge begins, voice calm but measured. "I have reviewed your petition for formal adoption and legal name change." Her gaze shifts briefly to the file. "I see documentation of asset dissolution from previous corporate affiliations. I see establishment of a family trust structured for education and long-term security. I see psychological evaluations confirming a stable domestic environment." Her eyes lift again. "And I see testimony from Miss Cole." Amara meets her gaze firmly. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge nods. She turns her attention to the twins. "Zara, Zion, you understand that today is not symbolic, it is legal. If I approve this petition, you will carry Mr. Kong's name in every document recognized by law." Zion's fingers tighten slightly around Jun-hook's hand. Zara answers first. "We understand." The judge studies them. "Is this your choice?" Zara glances briefly up at Jun-hook. Then, back to the bench. "We stopped pretending a long time ago," she says clearly. "He was our dad before paperwork." A faint ripple of warmth moves through the courtroom. Jun-hook remains still, but something behind his eyes shifts. The judge closes the folder slowly. "Mr. Kong," she says, "the law recognizes many forms of guardianship, but adoption is not about possession. It is about responsibility." Jun-hook meets her gaze directly. "I understand." She holds his eyes for a moment longer, measuring. Then she lifts the gavel. "By the authority vested in this court, the petition is granted. From this day forward, Zara and Zion Cole shall be legally known as Zara and Zion Kong." The gavel strikes the block. A single, clean sound. Not explosive. Final. Zion exhales first. Zara's shoulders lower. Amara closes her eyes briefly, relief settling like sunlight after storm. Jun-hook does not move immediately. The word echoes in his mind. Granted. Not taken. Not seized. Given. The clerk steps forward with documents. "Sign here, please." Jun-hook accepts the pen. Ink meets paper in slow, deliberate strokes. Kong Jun-hook. Below it, two smaller signatures appear careful, slightly uneven but determined. Zara Kong. Zion Kong. The clerk stamps the page. A crisp thud. Official. Irreversible. Outside the courthouse, afternoon light spills across stone steps. Traffic hums in steady rhythm. The city continues, unaware of the quiet shift that just occurred. The twins walk between Jun-hook and Amara, still holding hands. Halfway down the steps, Zion stops. She looks up at him. "Appa," she says, testing the word in open daylight. There is no hesitation in her voice. No fear. Jun-hook looks down at her. The word settles into him differently than any title he has carried. Boss. Dragon. Operator. Those belong to Shadow. This one belongs to Morning. He kneels slightly so he is level with both girls. "Yes." Zara smiles faintly. "We're not hiding anymore, right?" Jun-hook glances at Amara. She nods once. "No," he says. "We're not." They descend the remaining steps together. A car door opens nearby. Security remains present, but discreet distance maintained, visibility softened. As they reach the curb, Zion squeezes his hand again. "Are you still scared?" she asks quietly. Jun-hook considers the question honestly. He looks at the sky, clear, open, wide. "Yes," he says. Both girls blink. "Why?" Zara asks. "Because now I have something to lose." Zara studies his face, then nods. That just means you care? Jun-Huk exhales slowly. The sound is subtle, almost invisible, but it carries weight. He once ruled territory carved from fear. He once measured strength by silence and survival. Now he measures it differently, by laughter in hallways, by names spoken without fear, by a word opposite in sunlight. They step into the waiting car. Doors close softly. As the vehicle pulls away from the courthouse, the city unfolds ahead, ordinary and vast. Jun-Huk looks forward, not behind. The dragon is still there, but he no longer hunts for dominance. He guards what he chose. And for the first time in his life, home is not a fortress. It is a family,